Hello, Bizarre Story friends. If you're tuned in now, you are listening to the Bizarre AF, a place where we talk about the strange, the unknown, and all things bizarre AF. I'm Alicia, your host for today's episode. And as always, but especially now and today, we ask that you keep an open mind, keep a skeptical ear, but keep on listening to the facts as we take you on our newest journey. Disclosure in the U.S. Congress. Well, Kevin, my co-host with the most, aren't you just looking so patriotic and dashing today?
Got all my flags.
Yes, I love it. We the people. I'm so happy that we're talking just about that today, and you always on theme.
We have to be on theme.
You have to be on theme.
We are theatrical.
We are the theatrical people over here. Yes. Are you ready to dive deep into the deep end of alien news?
I love alienness. I love government conspiracy-ness.
Yes.
I love it.
Excuse me. Well, get your snorkel ready.
Okay.
Let's go.
Let's dive deep.
So if you're looking for a cheat sheet of what the heck is going on with the U.S. Congress disclosure.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. I've read and have listened to months worth of briefings, interviews, open sessions.
They're fucking fascinating.
Insane. TikToks. I can't get enough of it.
Oh my God. And I'm assuming you're going to talk about the most recent Congress hearing.
I am. Yeah.
That seemed to just go by the wayside.
It was barely even a blip, I feel.
A blip.
Mm-hmm.
And they dropped the mic. Bombshell after bombshell.
Yes. And what's interesting, before we even get into it, I think that it's really interesting to note that we didn't have that many articles come out. Why is that?
Mm-hmm. Why?
And this sounds like we should be having our tinfoil hats on.
It does.
Right?
Well, yeah. Yeah, if you ask them about some other person, they'd be like, yeah, conspiracy.
Oh, it's everyone. It's like they're all in cahoots.
Exactly.
But in reality,
no, but they fucking
they
are.
actually are. And that's something that, because I've listened to so much, even right before we started recording, I was still listening to things. Just to not only refresh, but it's dry.
Yeah.
Listening to congressional hearings. Okay.
Yes.
But there's just so much information that was packed into these interviews and these and into these hearings.
Yes.
That it's I feel like you have to listen to it 4 or 5 times to even get the gravity of what's being said.
Yeah. And I don't want to go off on a tangent here.
No, let's.
But here's what drives me nuts. I will listen to all of these politics and politicians, and they talk about, wars and things, and they say these things real subtly, but the media will pick up on it like that. They'll go, oh, did you hear? And I would have had to listen to this 5 times to even kind of pick up on that kind of thing.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And they pick right up on it. And then they're they tie the knots together and they point the strings together and they connect all the pieces. And they're really good about that. Listen to every fucking word. And then this shit comes out.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And it's crickets.
100%. There's something that we're going to be referring to, and actually that one of the witnesses that was being questioned is referring to a lot, and that is a Newsweek interview that he had before he came out with all this information to Congress before the hearing even happened.
Mm-hmm.
He talks about this Newsweek interview that he had, and he's so careful, and the people that he entrusted this interview to took it seriously. And I listened to, like I said, so much. I even listened to interviews or briefings that the actual reporters were having and saying, this is important. This is like insane. And by the way, we feel like the media has been keeping this hush hush and not taking it seriously. And that is the exact opposite of what reporting should be doing.
So then the question becomes, please explain to me why. Why? Like, why all of them? Why all of them?
Well, and that's something that that these reporters were talking about is, one, it is 100% career suicide. If you start to, you're like, oh my gosh, I got this information. Like, let's say the Tic Tac video. It's just easy to refer to. I got this video. You're like, oh, that's great. Yeah, I'm going to pursue it. I'm going to write this thing. Looking at all the sources. I'm doing my interviews. Then sometimes what happens to these reporters is they're given a bigger story that is easier. Maybe it's a national defense issue or whatever that is easier to track down the information and is more of a hole-in-one, so to speak, as far as a news article goes. So that's what these reporters are saying. Career suicide, or you're kind of dangled, like you're given a little carrot and said, oh yeah, don't pay attention to that. Talk about this instead.
Oh my God.
And who's making these decisions?
Who's decided? Like, okay, yeah, I got my. We do need tinfoil hats. Actually,
we need some tinfoil hats.
Some on right now.
Yeah.
Like, because does the government strong arm? Is the government strong arming the media in some way? Because the media would tell you there's no way that the government's going to strong arm me into not reporting something.
Right.
They would always say that.
Yes.
Right. But you know it happens.
Yeah.
It happens. They not necessarily. I'm gonna hate to use the word blackmail, but that's what everyone understands the word blackmail.
Blackmail at best.
Yeah, right. And to stop them from doing something,
right?
Or a quid pro quo kind of thing. Like, okay, well, I'm gonna say this thing, but you're not gonna publish it, and I'll give you this thing, or
right?
A bigger fish, or whatever.
Easier
right?
fish.
Easier, yeah. To keep it hush hush.
Yes. Yeah.
Like all kinds of reasons.
Well, I mean, like you talk about, like, these people who are in, Homeland Security or whatever, intelligence and they are reporters. They work for the government, but they are reporters. And so, or they work for these media organizations. And I really wish that this were a conspiracy. It's not. Like, what we're finding out and what, the basics of what we're finding out through this congressional disclosure is, not only has the government been lying to us, our Congress people have been lying and trying to evade this.
Yeah.
The media has been they're all working together to hide the information from the American people. And
disgusting.
Yeah, it's so disgusting. If this is an issue of national security, potentially,
right,
shouldn't the
American people know everything?
Well, a lot more than they currently do. like instead of, you have these pilots and stuff who are reporting things or saying, yes, I see these things, and they're like, oh, I can't say anything because I'm gonna be a laughing stock.
Exactly. His life his or her life would be miserable at work. They'd be ridiculed in public.
Literally, the majority of people they don't have a means to actually even report this stuff to the government or to an agency because maybe a man in black or whatever, some guy who works for, high up in the intelligence community, CIA, whatever, on black budget, they shut him down or they hide the information. Like, for instance, the TikTok video.
Yeah.
That was taken, it wasn't released until 10 years after it was even taken.
Right.
Why?
Right.
Because it was being hidden, intentionally.
Yes, and then those pilots come back and go, no, this was real.
And they were in this Congress hearing.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, they were in the Congress hearing. So,
oh God, okay, go ahead.
I'm gonna wear this badge of honor.
Okay.
Having done all of this research.
Yeah.
your friend with the weird amount of seemingly useless and obsessive knowledge of aliens, because honestly, I not so secretly am terrified of one knocking on my door and asking for some sugar, or even just standing at the foot of my bed and staring at me.
Anybody who's listened to this podcast series knows that that's true, because when I start to talk about stories and stuff, you go, oh my God, am I going to sleep?
Yeah. Am I going to sleep? Can I sleep tonight? It's like the scariest thing, like ghosts, whatever, demons, whatever, like, murder, whatever. Aliens? Oh no, I cannot do it. So I think like at least I would die of terror if that happened. If you had an alien walking down the street or something, what would you do? Would you be like, oh, yep, figures?
Oh, I wouldn't be surprised.
Mm-hmm.
No, I wouldn't be shocked like, they're real? No, that wouldn't be me.
No, you're like, yeah,
I'd be like, where have you been, bitch?
Yeah, where's your human suit? Because I know you've been fucking walking down this. We've all met a weirdo who's like, there's no way that person came from planet Earth. Like, there's no way.
Yeah, no, I would be all, I'd be like, finally.
Well, and the both of us are not really strangers to the fact that this bizarre world we live in is not black and white.
Right.
And disclosure is a multifaceted and layered issue.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
When you think of the topic disclosure, like what comes up for you? Like, do you feel like it's just something that like is slowly trickled out? Do you feel like
it could be either? It's like either your forced disclosure is, I got caught with my pants down and now I have to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
Think of that.
Mm-hmm.
Or I think of a whistleblower. Like, I guess that's the same thing as getting your pants cut down because someone's whistleblowing on you and you're like, fuck,
yeah.
Now I got to disclose everything.
Yes.
But people don't voluntarily disclose anything.
No, not necessarily.
There's going to be a reason. There's going to be a reason behind someone who's keeping something away having to disclose it. There's some forcing them to disclose it.
Yes, there is a morality issue that is at play oftentimes. And when we're talking about disclosure today, I use the term disclosure in relation to aliens. So like in relation to some kind of outer planet, outer dimensional, beings that we don't know about. And the fact that, the U.S. government has known about them since at least the 1930s.
Right.
So that's what we're talking about today.
Yeah.
So what if I told you to suspend your disbelief, okay, Kevin, and replace the word or idea of aliens with multidimensional beings instead?
Okay, yeah. I tracked. The only reason I tracked to that is because we've talked about this before.
Right.
We've had this discussion before. And so had we not ever, then I might be like, what are you talking about? But I have a level of comprehension to it. Yes. Yeah. Yes, I can, in my very simplistic mind, can comprehend what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yes.
I feel like it's really actually been a happy little accident that we covered the topic of dimensions because it kind of allows us in this episode to dig a little bit deeper together into the idea of multidimensional beings. But before we can really move forward with this disclosure, I really wanted to highlight the definition of a UAP.
Yeah.
Which is an unidentified aerial phenomenon.
Do you think that sounds more modern than UFO? Do you think the label has come about because there was such a connotation or an imagery with UFOs?
I think that's a big part of it. There was so much disinformation, and like when people think of aliens, they think, or people who are like have been abducted or whatever, they think of crazy people who live in the middle of the woods and are like podunk or whatever, stupid.
And the old 50s
people.
Black and white movies with the little spinning objects. That's what people think about, right?
Yes.
And they're like, no.
It's cartoonish.
Yes, cartoonish.
Yeah, it's not reality. I I think that the definition really has been newly coined by the government because it removes that idea of the little green men that flew 50 million light years from planet Xenon, right?
Yep,
like
exactly.
It instead places the onus on the person perceiving the phenomenon, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So it's really saying, we don't know what the fuck this is.
Right.
Because we're not sure it's a flying object anymore, right? It's a phenomenon. It's not even a flying object, right? It's a phenomenon and something that is observed to exist. The whole world, or the whole word of object was totally removed.
It was. Yes.
I think it's important to note because it just shows we have no fucking clue what the hell this is.
Mm-hmm.
It's some kind of phenomenon that isn't even a spaceship. It's nothing that we can really understand. It really shows us that there's, so little known about UAPs that it's no longer a thing, an actual thing, a noun. It's that phenomenon. It's a concept of a phenomenon, which the person perceiving is not able to readily define.
Mm-hmm.
So this phenomenon is something that breaks these folks' whole idea of reality. The laws and the rules that science has defined are very experienced in existence on planet Earth. So the things that they're seeing don't follow these natural laws that we've learned about.
Right.
They don't follow anything that we understand.
Right.
And I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, like, for example, when they maneuver in ways that physics say is not possible, or in the speed or whatever.
Yeah. It doesn't make any sense and we can't make sense of it. And I think that it's really important to take time to spell this out because I do believe that this is one of the most significant discoveries of our lifetime. And like, to be completely frank, even more than that, this is world bending.
I concur. I concur, which adds to my level of frustration that it's being so ignored.
Yes. Yeah. And so the idea, like, things have been slowly trickled out. We talk about the Tic Tac video. There was a New York Times article that happened in December, right before the holidays. It was released on a Friday. And the whole idea behind that is we know that there's going to be bigger news that's going to happen, and it's going to pale that in comparison. So people didn't really care. They're like, yeah, whatever. I can hardly pay my bills. Let me, I don't even care about aliens.
Mm-hmm.
But the United States Congress on July 26th, 2023, had retired Major David Grusch, retired fighter pilots Ryan Graves, and Navy Commander David Fravor. They all took to the United States Congress to disclose information that he and other military personnel had gathered. So this information was specifically brought to the Committee of Oversight and Accountability. And it was a public hearing, which is actually, it's in the first link in our show notes. So if you have 2 hours and 22 minutes to spare, it's actually an interesting listen, but
yes,
it's a lot of time. So the whole session was really filled with great one-liners from congressmen and the three retired military personnel. So one of the actual items that they were saying is, this is the most one of the most important hearings, and this is every single congressman, one of the most important hearings that I will ever be a part of, and I'm very thankful to be a part of. So they're taking this job seriously and questioning these guys. So the committee was important because now nothing new or groundbreaking happened. There was a lot of talk about the Tic Tac video, which actually David Fravor was there and being questioned about. And there was a lot of questioning about the Tic Tac video and about, why was this not disclosed? Why did you not come forward to disclose it? He's like,
so you know what? We've said Tic Tac video a lot. Maybe we need to...
We can link it,
but... maybe quickly take a minute and let's explain to people that may not know what's listening.
Yes.
What the Tic Tac video is.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to do it?
I'm happy
please.
to. So this was, I believe, off the coast, like near the Baja, Mexico, and California, off the coast of California. And these fighter pilots were doing a drill, like they often do. And it was some kind of drill, and David Fravor was the lead in it. And he's like, he saw something. He's like, what the hell is this? This is moving erratically, okay? And it's moving very fast and can stop in a second. That's not how any spaceships or any aircraft that we know of can actually like fly. So it was erratically flying, and it looked like a tic tac, like literally looks like a tic tac, which is why it's nicknamed the Tic Tac video. Now, you had a couple of fighter pilots who have been, flying for years. David Fravor has been doing it for, 20 plus years. He's the head of the squadron, and he's like, what the hell is this? But it was moving so quickly, he could not capture the video. It was actually another squadron member that collected that video. And they said it was so hard. It was hard for us to even do that. They had seen the Tic Tac craft go underwater, come out of the water, move erratically through the air, and they could hardly keep up with it.
Yes, if you watch the video, the background is like a blur because they're tracking it so fast. They finally get it in frame that the background is just zipping by.
Yeah.
Zipping by. And they're at a distance away. So it's like really fast.
Yeah.
You can tell how fast it is. And it does. It looks like this little tic tac.
Yes.
You can't what's the word I'm looking for? The perspective of it, you can't tell. Like there's nothing to compare it to. So you can't tell, is it literally the size of a Tic Tac or is it the size of the Empire State Building? Like
right.
you can't judge. Do you recall if they said
how big it was?
How big it was?
I'm sure that they did because they have like measurements, the ability to measure.
Yeah.
Within the
yes. With their monitor.
Yeah, the monitor. Yeah. So they
yeah.
can. I don't know off the top of my head what it was.
And that's what we were
but
talking about.
They couldn't even see seams on this Tic Tac.
That's right.
There were no seams or rivets or anything that looked like it was connected together.
Yes.
It looked like it was one solid
a full-on Tic Tac.
A full-on Tic Tac, a piece of material
yeah.
that had no connections.
Yeah.
We don't know anything that exists like that.
And again, that goes back to what we were talking about before. Stopping, going up, and then going really fast and turning left.
Yes.
Like nothing, physics says that you can't do that, right?
And these are also things that like can fuck with the sensors of these the pilots. So it's like it could sometimes not even show up on radar.
Crazy.
Which they're like, this is so strange.
Yeah.
So they end up going back down, and they get briefed, or they give a brief and like say what had happened, and what they find is nothing happens from it.
Right.
Absolutely nothing happens from it. All of the data, because I believe there was a ship that also had gathered some data, and had recorded some of this. Everything, someone had come in, like military personnel had come in and taken everything.
Shut it down. Shut it down.
Like, no, this is a national security. Oh, okay, cool. These people were never questioned again.
Yep. This is like 10 years ago, right?
This was like 10 to 12 years ago. Yeah. That it had even occurred.
God. Okay. So explains that what Tic Tac. So now fast forward to Congress hearing.
Yes.
And you've got the people, like you said, the guys there that were the pilots, they're talking.
Yeah. So, really, like one thing that you find is like, okay, cool. Congress is talking about this. We've all seen this video, like, because it actually came out like 2 or 3 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not really news anymore.
Right.
This is really old,
right.
That we are listening to the Congress talk about. But why is it, one thing that you have to ask yourself, why are they having a public committee hearing on this?
Yeah, why now?
Yes. It's because these items need to be on record, okay? And these government officials, these Congress people, and also the whistleblowers here smelled a cover up.
Mm-hmm.
So they have to go through these stupid measures and have a public hearing or a hearing. And actually they requested that it was public because they thought that the people needed to know.
Yeah.
So they needed to cross their T's and dot their I's. Now this committee is specifically actually for whistleblowers, and people who work within the government who participate with security clearances, etc., which I would never pass a security clearance. Wink, wink, Kev. And these folks, know that the government cheese stank, and it stank bad. Okay. And we still don't have our tinfoil hats. We should have asked Roy to go and get us one. I really wish I could say that this wasn't a reality. And, but there's, in fact, factions within the U.S. government who are trying to hide the truth from the American people of what UAPs are. And this hearing and what we're living in right now are fucking historic times, So from the opening statement, Congressman Grothman says something that is very pointed. And I'm paraphrasing here, but essentially he says that this is a compartmentalized government issue. Okay. Meaning we have to know which compartments of the government have this information, because we are asking questions and nobody knows the answers to them. One thing that came up repeatedly was which government officials, where is the budget coming from? And is this a national security issue? One thing that the Congress people kept on saying was, we understand the Pentagon has never passed an audit. Now we all know audits, you have to check and keep track of all of the freaking, money that you have and show where the money's going.
Right.
The Pentagon's like $1 billion deficit in their fucking audits and their budgets. And this is on a consistent basis. So where's this money going? And this is taxpayer money, right? Which is another reason why we would want to have this be a public, congressional meeting.
Which should tell everybody that there is, without question, what they call these black ops, or these ops, or these divisions, black budget. Those exist. This is proof they exist. This money is going somewhere that the government does not want you to know where it's going.
Yes.
And there are, I'm sure, there are very legitimate reasons. There are truly some legitimate reasons that this would occur.
Yes.
And I think that's the fine line that gets crossed.
Yes. Because we're talking about people who are, career, not criminals, but they fucking should be, but they're career government workers. That's what they're doing. And, we even talk about things like, I was convinced, I'm like, there's no such thing as aliens, because if there was and Trump knew, we would all know. Right. But when you even talk to the presidents, for instance, you can listen to, Obama talking about, well, yeah, Area 51 and Roswell, whatever. He even said, yeah, Area 51 is an actual military base. And people are like, no fucking duh. Just because the government says it isn't, doesn't mean we believe it.
Right.
But when he was still in office, he would joke around and say things like little green men and, stuff like that. I would know about it. But he was briefed after his presidency. And now there's an interview with Stephen Colbert that he had after his presidency. And Stephen Colbert says, I have to know, because everyone wants to know, are there such thing as aliens? And what does Obama say? He says, I think that there's a lot more to this world. Basically, there's more than we know. And I can't say specifics. So he's not answering the question.
Exactly.
But he's also not joking around and taking it as like flippantly as he used to.
Right.
Even Trump. And this is like I said, I went down a fucking rabbit hole with like anything related to disclosure.
Yeah.
And Trump's son, I don't know which one it was, Tweedledee or Tweedledum, choose your fucking poison. But he said, I have to know about, Dad. I have to know about about aliens. What is the deal? And he said, well, there are things out there. I can't like, look, he gave some kind of bullshit answer. Like there are a lot of things that like, you can't just say it's not my business saying, in his own Trumpism, but he basically said like not no and not yes. And I can't talk about it.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm like, that motherfucker could keep his fucking yap shut. Like that's insane. I just assume he just repeats or regurgitates everything he hears, right. Which is why a lot of people liked him. Right. So David Grusch, I told you we had three dudes. David Grusch takes the stand. Okay. And this is very important because David Grusch worked in the intelligence community. He was an investigator and specifically investigated alien crash retrieval programs. Yes. And he was really the big whistleblower who came out about it. And he's the one who knows he played the government game. He knows the who's, he knows the where's,
yes,
and he knows when the things happened. But he did not personally, I have to say this because it's a huge controversy around David Grusch, is that he never personally saw aliens. He never touched aliens. He never met aliens. He never actually experienced the aliens. He was the investigator who was going through making sure that these claims were legit.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So he takes the stand, and everyone who is watching or who has watched, this is where they're going to fucking roll their eyes, because they will hear him refer to his News Nation interview saying that he cannot give specifics. And I thought that I would actually play a little snippet of the frustration that Congresswoman Mace had even while questioning, and the questioning turned a little evasive.
Yeah. Okay.
So here we are.
Yeah.
Intelligent extraterrestrials.
Something I can't discuss in public setting.
Okay, I can't ask when you think this occurred. If you believe we have crashed craft, stated earlier, do we have the bodies of the pilots who piloted this craft?
As I've stated publicly already in my News Nation interview, biologics came with some of these recoveries. Yeah.
Were they, I guess, human or non-human biologics?
Non-human, and that was the assessment of people with direct knowledge on the program I talked to that are currently still on the program.
And was this documentary evidence, this video, photos, eyewitness? Like, how would that be determined?
The specific documentation I would have to talk to you in a skiff about.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay. So, and you may or may not be able to answer my last question, and maybe we get into a skiff at the next hearing that we have, but who in the government, either what agency, sub-agency, what contractors, who should be called into the next hearing about UAPs, either in a public setting or even in a private setting? And you probably can't name names, but what agencies or organizations, contractors, et cetera, do we need to call in to get these questions answered, whether it's about funding, what programs are happening, and what's out there?
I can give you a specific cooperative and hostile witness list of specific individuals that were in those.
And how soon can we get that list?
I'm happy to provide that to you after the hearing.
Super. Thank you. And I yield back.
So before we get into that, do you know what a skiff is?
I do.
Oh, okay.
Dude, can you tell me?
Well, sure. Yeah, quickly. It's a secure. It's a room that is secure, and it's built in such a way that there's no electronics, so you can't possibly have any recording devices. It would be like there would be no phone. There would be no.
What about your your watch?
Yeah, typically you take that stuff off. You put it in
Before you
in a
walk
locker
in.
before you go into the skiff.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so it's very, very secure, so you can have very private conversations without the possibility of anything getting out.
And like, okay, what do the rooms look like? Is it just like
it's
a
like
normal
a comfortable conference room,
Oh, really?
but it's like, it's like, it's not just like you open up this little flimsy wooden door and go into a skiff. Like
Right.
it's an ordeal. Like it's a thing.
It's like a bank vault that they open up the door and like you
Well.
walk in. And
Yeah.
they're like, okay, no jokes. Let's sit down. This is serious.
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, that's fascinating. So he was saying, yeah, we'll go into a skiff and
Yes.
have some discussions.
So the SCIF actually stands for Sensitive Compartmentalized Information Facility.
There you go.
Yeah. And why does he want to do this is a big question.
Why is he willing to talk about it?
Yes.
That is a good question.
Why is he not doing it in the public hearing?
Well, and why now? And so you see, this is where I get confused about clearances.
Yes.
Because clearly he has a security clearance.
Yes, very high.
Obvi.
Yeah, uh-huh.
But
And I believe he still has it, by the way.
see, so this is where how can he be saying this stuff and still have a clearance? Like, how does he know what he can and can't? Like, this is why I'm confused. And then so some stuff he can say in public, even though he has a clearance and he shouldn't be talking about it. But some stuff he can't. But some stuff he can. What, somebody else that has a clearance? I don't even know if these congressmen have clearances. I'm assuming they do.
That's actually something they talk about in the hearing. Not all of them have
the clearance.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
so maybe she did, so we can go into a skiff and talk
Yes,
about it, right?
yes.
So he's like, okay, but that
She
doesn't
did. She wasn't it.
But that just doesn't give her, just because you have a clearance doesn't give you the authority to hear something of the same clearance. This is the key. You have to have a need to know.
Right.
And so it brings up a lot of questions for me.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them is what you're just talking about now, like why?
Yeah.
How? Why can some stuff say in here? Why does some stuff have to go into the skiff?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know.
So I can tell you from his perspective, from Grusch's perspective, he has sources and people that still work for the U.S. government and are unwilling, or they do not want to disclose information in a public setting, right?
Uh-huh.
They could, because he's not the one who touched the aliens or who saw the actual crashes.
Sure.
He interviewed the people who had.
Yeah.
So he is the investigator, and he has all of his sources
Yeah.
that have a lot more to lose. One, his job was to do that, was to
Yeah, right.
to actually investigate it and
Right.
find the legitimacy behind it.
Yeah.
And on top of that, he was one of those people who, when he had come out with some information, he had already told his superiors, like, hey, I think this needs to come out. I think we need to talk to Congress about it. And they're like, yeah, sure, fine. Do your thing. Nobody had a problem. Everybody knew that he was going to discuss this stuff. He was going to come out about it.
Yeah.
And that he was trying to make this information known.
Yeah.
He didn't get reprimanded for it. But when
Right.
he started coming out, boy, did a smear campaign from something or someone
Yeah.
start to happen. His mental health records were released.
Ugh.
So it showed that he had, okay, come on. All of us have had mental health issues, right?
Of course.
If you're interesting, you have. You know? Yeah, we've all dealt with depression. We've all dealt with PTSD or something like that. We've all had these things.
Yeah.
But this private information was released
Ugh.
when he had started coming out. A smear campaign came out, and one of the questions that they ask him is, do you feel like you have been threatened? Have you been threatened? And he said, I can't talk about the specifics, but who threatened, because their follow-up was who was it, you know?
Yeah.
Because we want to fucking chase after them, because these Congress people know you have to have names in order to
Exactly. Get
track
stuff done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he specifically said, no, I can say that it's been really tough.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to go into specifics, but it's been really rough.
Mm-hmm.
And he said another follow-up question the Congress people had asked was, have other people been threatened? And he said everything. I mean, basically he was saying yes. And then the next fall, has anyone been killed?
Right.
To try to keep this information silent.
Uh-huh.
And he said, we can talk about that in a skiff.
What? Couldn't you just say no?
You could just say no.
Can you say no?
You could, if the answer is no.
If the answer is no, can you say no?
If the answer is no, you're not going into a skiff. Let's be honest.
Let's be clear.
You're not going into a skiff.
I'm going to go into a skiff to tell you no one's been killed because of, please.
No. Yeah. So they had, they're talking about this and they're really trying to drill down into the who's doing this. And that news.
And that's all the stuff that he's saying when he just said, like, I tell you this stuff in a skiff. Like, I'm going to give you names in a skiff.
Yeah. Oh, I have all the names.
Yes.
I have everything. I will give it to you. Happily hand it over in a skiff. What can you hand me? These hostile and then like also compliant interviewers.
Yes.
Interviews. Happy to. When? Right
now.
after. Yeah, I have it. I did not come unprepared.
Right.
But it's like a lot of times you have to know what the questions are, what questions to ask in order to get the answers.
Yeah.
And that's what they say and discover in this congressional in this hearing, the disclosure hearing, is that we can't know because we're asking questions and people are evading or not answering. They don't know what the answers are.
Mm-hmm.
We need to know specifics in order to drill down and in order to get actual answers because there's some evasive bullshit that's happening right now.
Sure.
So
by the way, should we tell people you're getting over a very, very serious illness?
Cold. I was very, very sick. I mean, like I'm fine now, but it was like a very serious respiratory sickness, which is why we were a little late with this one and
That's
why
right.
I'm a little
congested.
hoarse. Yeah. And congested.
Yeah.
So we talk about the skiff.
Mm-hmm.
They end up having one. They have this skiff.
They do go into the skiff. Well, I would imagine they would want to. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So they actually, the problem was that they were not getting approval to go into a skiff. Yeah. So that hearing, the original hearing happened in July. Okay.
Uh-huh.
And they're like, we're going to get into a skiff. We're going to make it happen. They couldn't get clearance or the permission to get into a skiff until January 12th.
What?
Yeah. So we're kicking the can further down the line.
Uh-huh.
Meanwhile, there was a bill that was supposed to be passed. And one of the big goals of this congressional hearing was to have a place for pilots, military, non-military personnel to actually report, UAPs.
Yeah.
Have a place that it's legitimate, that they can actually report it because it's happening all the time. It's happening to every pilot.
Yeah.
And they need a place of safety because this could be a national, security issue.
Yeah.
And one of the other pilots said, there was a square. It was a formation that would look like kind of like maybe a parallelogram. And it was it was huge. And then in the center of it, it had like an orb.
Yes.
Do you remember that? That was another.
Yes. Yeah, that was another thing they saw.
Yes. And this pilot was one of the pilots that had seen this. And he said, we couldn't see it on our radar.
Right.
Nothing was working. None of the actual the radar, the pieces of what is it called? Like the dashboard and stuff.
Yeah.
It was like
all of their
all disabled.
Yeah, all their equipment. Yeah, so wait. Yeah. Sorry, don't lose your train of thought. Okay, bitch. If I had come to the government, you have a branch of the military saying they've got this thing that's disabling all of their comms, their radar, all this stuff. They've got a video of it. Everyone's seeing the same thing. If you didn't know, you would go national security. We have a national security problem.
Yes.
with something we've got to, like, cat 1, alarm 1, bells need to go off. Shit, we got some problems.
Yes.
Do they do that?
No.
No.
Mm-mm.
They don't do that. So what does that tell you?
It tells you that they know.
They know something.
Yeah, they know something. They know that it's not a friendly,
Right. Right.
and it's not a foe or whatever they call them, like
Right.
enemy or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's not Russian, it's not Chinese.
Exactly.
These are not, Canadians. These are not Australians, whatever.
Canadians.
Like Canadians. Canadians are just like, peace, man. Like, yeah, come on down, You'd have free health care like we fucking should. Anyway, so it tells you that they know something.
Yeah.
And these pilots are like, yeah, we've seen and none of these anomalous, things, none of them, some of them look the same, but like there's so many different types. We have that orb.
Yes.
We also have one that's like a red square. It's like a box.
Yes.
That's as big as a fucking football field.
Yes.
And they're like, what is this?
In fact, I thought there was one where it was square inside of a sphere.
Yes. They talk about a square inside of a sphere.
Yes.
Yeah. And they're like, we don't know what the fuck? This is like something you draw during art class,
Yeah,
to learn how to
exactly.
shade like shapes and shit. Like, this is flying in the air and it's massive and it's not making any sounds and all of our equipment is malfunctioning. Like, it can turn off our, our weapons systems.
Yes.
And
won't let us record it.
We are seeing it with our eyeballs.
Yeah.
It will not track on our our cameras and our equipment. We have to manually track it and hope and pray that we actually get it. It's insanity, and it becomes a national security issue, which is what they were really going about this hearing with. So the SCIF, they discussed everything. Dudes gave the names,
Okay.
everything.
Yeah.
I guess Boeing's also one of like the corporations that are defense contractors that are doing a lot of work on behalf of the Pentagon. They call them like metal benders because they do the work on behalf of the government. The government hires these contractors to come in and kind of
probably. Do you think to look at the
to do the work, to do like they help reverse engineer,
engineer the stuff they're finding?
Yeah, they're like it's like weapons contractors, right? Like that's what they do.
Yeah.
But they're also helping with these aircraft or what UAPs.
Yeah.
So we had that SCIF happen. A lot of these Congress people came out, and of course you can't talk about the specifics. Okay, like in a SCIF, right? But there were a bunch of people or reporters who were asking questions like, what was talked about? And they're like,
yeah, I'm not going to tell you
we can't talk about that.
Yeah.
But what they were saying is perhaps a better question to ask is not whether it's a UAP, and perhaps the better question is to think of this as a multidimensional issue.
This was an answer given to a reporter?
Yes. By a congressperson.
Perhaps it is better to think of this as a multi-dimensional issue.
Issue. Yes.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So what I'm thinking is, they all went into specifics and they're like, so we kind of know what this is. And we know that it's coming from our planet, planet Earth. Okay. A lot of these things.
Fuck me.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Yes.
Okay. Now I'm tracking. It's not okay. Got it.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I'm slow to catch up, but I've got it now. So what we're saying to those that were as slow as me, what we're saying is that it's not necessarily Blob Bob from planet Zorath.
Yes.
But instead, is a version, I don't know, even of us on this planet, just from a different dimension. They're crossing dimensions.
They have the ability to
So maybe not from this planet, but
Yes.
maybe they're in another dimension and we're just coming across here. That's what you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But that's making my mind melt a little bit.
Yeah, and what the fuck? Like, who said anything? Nobody said anything. That this came out on January 12th. Okay.
2024?
Yes, 2024. Both of these, the hearings in July was 2023, and this is 2024 that we're in. That just this past July or January that this information came out.
Oh, because they just had the skiff.
They
Got
just
it.
had the skiff.
Yeah.
They received more information, and that information pointed to maybe not so much like extraterrestrial. These are non-humanoids.
Yeah.
Or what they also call it is like biologic. There were biologics in these like aircraft crashes.
Yeah.
That everything's pointing to they're just from a different dimension, and they know how to manipulate time and dimensions.
Good God, girl.
Mm-hmm. Get a grip.
Wow. Trippy.
It's so weird. It's so crazy, and no one's talking about it. You know,
Pisses me off.
I know. I mean, so this is still ongoing. There's actually a video that had come out this year, and they call it the chandelier or the jellyfish video. And this was released by a different guy, had nothing to do with David Fravor or Grusch or Ryan Graves. Not Ryan Graves. Ryan, yeah, something like that. Anyways, I have it.
Greaves? No, whatever.
So
Anyway,
whatever.
go ahead. Yeah,
So,
whatever.
it was attached to a totally different guy. He has it. Grusch, and
No.
yeah, Graves.
Yeah. Okay.
So
Sorry.
there are three guys. Anyways, he releases this video, and it was taken in Afghanistan. And the men who saw this in real life were freaked the fuck out. They were doing, I believe that they were doing some kind of drill, and they had just upgraded their systems. They're like radar systems, and they were seeing more shit. Okay.
Sure. Okay.
Things that you can't see with your naked eye.
Okay.
You can look at it,
and
there's nothing there.
Okay.
But when you're looking on this radar, you see something.
Okay.
And it looks like a jellyfish. This is reality. I will have it linked in the show notes, and you and I will see this.
Okay.
We'll watch it afterwards.
Yeah.
And it moves just like, there's no like movement of anything. It looks like a fucking jellyfish just moving through space.
Does it move like a jellyfish?
No.
Okay, so is it like perfectly still and it's just floating?
Yes, it's perfectly still and floating fast. And you can see how fast it's moving because it's near like, you know, it's near the ground and near buildings, so you see how massive it is.
Wow, fuck.
So this stuff is slowly trickling out. We don't know what it is. What we do know is that those are military personnel who actually got the video. The video was released. The government does not know anything about it. As far as the Pentagon goes, with like Grusch and a lot of these videos and stuff that are coming out, they're not denying anything.
Right.
So these claims are coming out. Nothing is being denied. Nothing is being poo-pooed. You know, they're saying they're kind of keeping their mouth shut on it.
Well, don't you think, playing devil's advocate, that they would not want to bring any attention to something that's crap just because it would create attention to something that's not real? I don't believe that's true.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. I'm just throwing that out there.
That could be the case. I think that it would be so easy for them to have gather the information or like show ways that these are faked videos or these people are not legit. Like there are easy ways to do smear campaigns or to disprove.
Yeah.
And so why not disprove it and be the if you are, and you should be, the authority on these matters,
Right.
why would you not come forward and say that that's
True.
incorrect?
It's true.
I think that they are hush hush because they don't want to confirm anything yet. I think that there's a very slow disclosure effort by the government. So they're slowly trickling some of this information, allowing some of the information
So it's not so
out.
shocking.
Yeah. So when we say, oh, we have a deal with the fucking 20th dimension, race of fucking humanoid whatevers.
Yeah, when Slime Bob's going down the road, you're not so shocked.
Or there are aliens at a fucking mall in Miami. Like, it's not as shocking. Like, you understand that there's just multiple dimensions that we just haven't understood yet. So that's what they're saying that is a lot. It's more so dimensional rather than extraterrestrial.
Wow. That brings up a whole nother series of questions. Like, why? Yeah. Right. Sorry, my brain is like going a million miles an hour. So another dimension, like the whole universe could be different.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I mean, the whole planet. We can say for sure.
Planet our surrounding universe.
Yes.
I mean, it's a different dimension. Like there could be planets like all around us.
Could be.
Earth, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
In another dimension.
Well, and what is happening to these craft? Like a lot of these craft. Okay, you find crashed craft because something goes wrong, right? There's some kind of malfunction with systems. It's how we know what these things are. And that's the issue with other countries reverse engineering these craft because they're all over the place. We know about the ones in the United States.
Sure.
But other governments who says that, freaking like Russia's going to get it or North Korea is reverse.
Shit don't just crash in New Mexico.
No, yeah. It's not only crashing in Roswell, it's crashing all over the world. And what if our enemies get and reverse engineer these things?
Sure.
And then they start using this craft on,
the technology to do harm.
Yes. Yeah.
Who's to say they aren't already?
Exactly. I'm not like, I do think that like China and Russia probably have some. And I think that's why I think that's why it's a pressing matter for them to get some of this information out.
Wow.
But I'll keep my my
You've given me a lot
out
to think about, girl. Like my brain is spinning.
I know. I know. And like all of the information, like the congressional hearings and stuff, you can find all this information online. We do have it in our show notes. It is dry and there's a lot of, you have to kind of read between the lines with a lot of this stuff.
And I know it is like 2.5 hours, but it is so interesting. Like I guess if you're if you're listening to this episode, I think you would be interested in listening to 2.5 hours of this talk because it, like Alicia said, if you just listen, read between the lines, I guess you have to. But oh my God, like they say some stuff like you're like, what? Like
he straight up says we have alien bodies.
Yeah.
He straight up says we have alien biologics. Right? Non-human biologics.
Right.
And he is very careful to not say alien because he knows that it's multidimensional things that are happening. And, he's talked to people who've seen them, right?
Right.
And these people are being interviewed by Congress people. They are being called out and asked for the firsthand information. So, it's...
Well, now that they have the names.
They have some names. And I'm sure it's going to be a continuous thing that we're going to, hear about slowly. So as time goes by, and if there's another really big hearing, I will most certainly cover it.
Yeah, please.
In an episode.
Yeah.
But pay attention, guys.
Yeah. Definitely.
This is like really, this is some historic
on the
shit.
Precipice of something, I think. And I hope it happens in my lifetime.
Yeah. It is happening in your lifetime.
I mean, like full on.
Them coming down and scaring the shit.
B.
Oh God, no! I'm not sure I understand. I think I'm too scared, but yes, it's very well going to happen in our lifetime, and I think it's important to pay attention to what's going on.
Oh my God, I'm excited.
Yeah.
Great episode.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
All right, guys. We'll see you in a couple weeks.
See you in a couple weeks.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.